Right, so my name's Vicky Kammin. I've been working in children's palliative care for nearly 20 years now as a music therapist, and I'm undertaking my PhD as part of the Martin House Research Centre team. So I want to share with you today some of my work with bereaved siblings groups in a children's hospice setting. So this presentation will explore the development, the implementation, and research into a collaborative model of working with bereaved siblings of children with life-limiting or life-threatening conditions in a children's hospice setting. Rocks and Pebbles is an innovative, collaborative approach to working with post-bereavement siblings groups, joining the skills of myself as the music therapist, the family support and bereavement counsellor, and community musicians from leading London orchestras. Each one of us will die and we will be bereaved. Yet society finds death so difficult to consider, to talk about, to explore or share our feelings around. Yet that is perhaps the only certainty in our lives. So if society finds it so difficult to talk about death and dying, how can we possibly find the words to talk to children about grief or think about children dying? But what are the implications if we don't? Child psychiatrist and psychoanalyst John Bowlby explored the significance of making and breaking of early emotional bonds and the effects that attachment and loss have on psychological well-being. He wrote that grief which is not addressed in childhood will have repercussions in adult life, manifesting in a range of ways, including difficulties in building trusting relationships, psychiatric illness, or underlying depression and anxiety. This is a sibling of a child with a life-limiting condition. The photo paints a vivid snapshot of the sort of childhood these children may have in comparison to their mainstream peers. The unique bond shared by siblings begins at birth and continues through life. As Marshall and Winoka state, siblings' relationships are among the most important relationships we are likely to have in our life. They are likely to be the longest lasting. Therefore, a sibling's death may profoundly impact the surviving children. According to Goldman in 2017, the degree of impact is influenced by the uniqueness of the sibling relationship, the developmental understandings of the young child, and by adult interactions with the bereaved child. As Kassane and Kasparian state in 2017, sibling loss is compounded by the parent's concurrent loss, which may make a parent less accessible to the child as a resource. In addition, adults often struggle to be honest with children, perhaps wanting to protect them from the realities of death, and perhaps leading to lack of conversations at home for each family member fearing upsetting the other. This may be compounded by perhaps being the only bereaved child at school, and therefore with no network of support. Sibling grief is underrepresented in the literature. There is a book by Smith, published in 1999, called The Forgotten Mourners, which I think paints another vivid picture of this group of children. A review of the literature revealed limited research on collaborative working in paediatric palliative care with bereaved siblings and in the therapeutic use of music in post-bereavement sibling groups. Rocks and Pebbles developed in response to an increasing awareness of the needs of bereaved children across the hospice movement and the development of specialist childhood bereavement support services, focusing on reducing complicated grief in adulthood. The model of working was named Rocks and Pebbles, which makes reference to an analogy of grief becoming less painful to manage over time. The aims and objectives of the group are to provide opportunities for participants to explore thoughts and feelings around bereavement, to meet individuals in similar situations to themselves, to experience a safe and contained environment in which they can share their experiences, to develop an understanding of how other siblings cope with the death of their brother or sister, to express themselves using a non-verbal medium, to be a child, to explore their own identity, have time, space and attention for themselves, and to identify individuals who need further support. So I undertook a research project in order to provide an evidence base for this practice of this model of working and to gain external funding for the group. This was a small-scale research project, and due to time constraints around funding and gaining ethical approval, we focused on the perspectives of the professionals involved in the project, rather than the experience of the children. However, the children's voices are central to group evaluation and design, and a follow-up study which focuses on the children and families' perspective is planned. So the research questions were: how has the therapeutic use of music addressed the project aims and themes and influenced the work? Has working collaboratively impacted on the professionals involved and influenced the work? And what has been the overall professional experience of this model of working, and how can this be developed? So a qualitative research methodology was chosen, as I was interested in studying words and description on a small-scale level. Semi-structured interviews were used as the research method in order to closely analyse the experience of the professionals and to explore individual perspectives. Interpretive phenomenological analysis was used to analyse and interpret the data. This method of analysis was selected as the most suitable for exploring the professional viewpoints of this one model of working and offering a description of the findings, which enabled me to explore possible interpretations of this. Recurrent themes were identified across the interview transcriptions and then grouped into broader domains in order to interpret the work. So the IPA of the interview transcriptions are summarised here in the form of a summary domain and theme diagram. This provides an overview of the 23 themes which emerge from the data and the subsequent grouping of these themes under 4 domain headings. These were the role of music, the impact of the professional of the collaboration and how this influenced the work, the overall professional experience of the model, and the future development of the model. This is an example of one of the individual domain tables, with the themes, their frequency, and examples of some of the quotations from the interview transcripts. The table depicts the role of music in meeting group aims and themes. You'll see some of the quotes here. Bunt in 1994 suggests the role of our connection to music links with our innermost emotional, spiritual, and most private selves. He considers music as bringing us into close and immediate contact with people around us, and at the same time connecting us both with images from the past and predictions of the immediate future. This is an example of a bar chart which depicts the frequency of theme occurrences in domain 3, which was the overall professional experiences of the model. You can see here that the effective blend of skills and the sense of achievement were the most frequent themes identified. So conclusions were reached regarding the unique role of music in this model and more generally in collaborative work, the far-reaching benefits of collaborative work for both client and therapist, and the significance of support in this clinical area. This research has important outcomes for both the music therapy profession and wider childhood bereavement services through the exploration of this model and a more general investigation into collaborative working and post-bereavement support groups. The evidence base for the effectiveness of this model of post-bereavement support has enabled regular external funding to be gained, and there has been a significant interest in this model of working within paediatric palliative care. It is hoped that this research will provide a welcome addition to the growing literature within collaborative working in the music therapy profession and childhood bereavement, particularly in terms of enhancing the work and supporting the professionals. So I want to conclude this presentation with the words of the children and families. A few of the quotes. I enjoy being around other kids in the same situation as me. It was really fun using music. I found it helpful spending time with other siblings because they've been through the same thing. It's better than talking. It was good being around others who have lost someone close. And from the families, I found it helpful for my child to have the opportunity to bring this issue to the fore away from the family. He feels now he doesn't feel he was the only one and was able to express his feelings. She's been able to talk more about her sister. It was so helpful for her to meet other children who had lost brothers or sisters. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to put my references up on the final slide.